Hello, this is your Charity Warimo Ngugi-Latz, and I'm talking to you all the way from Germany. Today, I want to start a conversation on domestic violence. Now, why domestic violence? Because domestic violence is a menace. It's a menace in our society. But unfortunately, most people prefer to talk about domestic violence as though it were happening to somebody else and not themselves and could never happen to themselves. Now, this is unfortunate because this just gives the abuser more chances to abuse their victim. Now, what is domestic violence? Domestic violence is when a person desires to gain control and power over their victim by giving them no chances of being themselves or the freedom of their well being. Now, there are very many forms of domestic violence, but we seem to only know the physical type of domestic violence. There are other acts, for example, of violence like sexual, there's spiritual, there is the COVID-19 escalating kind of abuse, and then there is the abuse of child witness, when a child witnesses domestic violence. Now, there are so many other types also, which I will make in the next videos. I'll be able to describe every single one of them and be able to show the red flags that accompany this type of abuses. But why am I doing these videos? I want to be vulnerable to you. The reason why I'm doing these videos is because I think everybody has a purpose on this earth. And higher power usually allows you to experience something so that you may be able to tell it authentically. At least that is my belief. Now, I started experiencing domestic violence in the form that we call child witness. I remember at the age of 3, I saw my mother being beaten by my father, dragged in public, not once, not twice, but I have these flashbacks, which means as a child, I witnessed domestic violence. And it affected me. If it did not affect me, I would not be having those flashbacks. Once in a while, when I hear the word domestic violence, I remember these scenes. My mother being dragged on by her hair, and usually for her to be let go while she's been kicked and beaten blows, for her to be let free, she had to grab me. And because I was my father's favorite, he would let her go. So I was her shield. I remember then again, as I was growing up as a teenager, after my mother had separated from my father, I remember again my mother being stabbed in front of us by her living boyfriend at the time, who was living with us. Whatever the quarrel was, I don't remember. But she was stabbed and he left her bleeding, and I had to rush her to hospital. That was how I knew how to drive. And I remember the shame of it because I did not want my neighbors to know. And I remember that my mother was not even screaming because she was somehow a very proud, arrogant person who wanted to prove that she can take care of her children on her own. Then, as an adult, I've been abused too in my domestic situation by the father of my 4 children. I remember him throwing me onto the against the wall, and I've broken my front teeth twice. In fact, one of the reasons I came to Germany, I migrated to Germany, was to escape a domestic violence situation. I lost my job because I was ashamed of always going to the offices with bruises. I lost a lot. I lost my self esteem. I lost my friends. I came to see my Facebook, in fact, made me reconnect with my friends once again, all the ones we went to school with and to the university with. And now, even after coming to Germany, people say that white people do not beat, it's a black thing. And this is why I want to tell people, let's stop pretending, let's face it. Domestic violence happens regardless of race, regardless of age, regardless of color, the religious affiliation, whatever is your social economic status. I had a person who had a very high job, white, and he actually strangled me 2 times. And I never told anybody. I'm saying it for the first time. Yes, I am being vulnerable. Because if you are out there and you're not sure about whether you're experiencing domestic violence, I invite you to subscribe to my YouTube channel because I'll be talking about this in detail. Also, there's a Facebook page, Unmasking Domestic Violence. And there's my website, also under the same title, unmasking-domesticviolence.org. I'll be able to express, let us not hide anymore. It is a menace, and especially during this, my first title will be about how it's escalating during these times of the COVID-19 pandemic. What is happening is that abusers are using this as an opportunity to menace, to terrorize, to bring fear, threats, intimidation, locking them up, isolating them from family. Now, at a time they cannot travel, it's worse. Shelters are filling up every single day. And that's why I've decided to bring awareness. I thank you. I thank you so much for giving me your time. And once again, I ask you to subscribe so that even if you're not going through domestic violence, I am sure there is somebody out there that you have identified as a victim of domestic violence. And I'm so glad that I'm no longer undergoing domestic violence because I know the red flags. I can see I can see a domestic violence abuser from very far away. And that is what I would like you to, as my viewer, to be able to see. Thank you very much for your time. Charity Ngugi, subscribe again to Unmasking Domestic Violence on Facebook. Thank you.